Hey, my name is Jack, and for the Legacy of Phrecia event, I have, as I said, a Bog Shaman life stack rebuild. The way that in Path of Building, the new Ascendancy for the Legacy of Phrecia event is going to work is going to be in the form of a jewel. So instead of this jewel, which would be suffered here, would normally have something else like this cobalt jewel. Right. So the way that this build works is Sanguine Power gives us gain maximum life instead of maximum energy shield from equipped armor item. It removes all energy shield. And then we also have Nightblood. Skills gain our base life cost equal to 25% of base mana cost. Spells you cast yourself gain added physical damage equal to 80% of life cost if life cost is not higher than the maximum you could spend. That way, we scale with life that we gain from Sanguine Power. Topact is the last node we will take, and Vile Implications is a connection node for Nightblood. As you can see, we have about 18,000 life. It would normally be higher. This build already existed with a unique item called the Apostle, but the thing has -3 maximum life per level. So we take some dips on this. The skill tree is pretty much simple forward. We try to stack as many of these life nodes as possible, right? And of course, jewel sockets are also really nice because we can put increased maximum life from jewels. Over here, we pick up Whispers for Doom for Assassin's Mark, which I'm going to explain later. This life wheel, and this life wheel, this reservation wheel. We use 3 auras, summon Skitterbot, Pride, and Zealotry. As you can see, we have an extremely high crit chance, which I'm going to explain in the equipment segment. Other than that, we pretty much go over to the Marauder side of the team, take all of the life nodes as possible. Pretty much all we need. Over here, this mastery is actually very important to hit 100% chance to avoid being stunned with some other modifiers. What really works well is Eternal Youth. Energy Shield Recharge instead applies to life. We will also be using Dissolution of Flesh, which reserves life when you take damage to your life. This works very well together with Eternal Youth, right? And then what else you can do is you can also take Wicked Ward if you want to. This makes sure that your energy shield recharge, or better said, your life recharge, doesn't get interrupted ever. And you get about 20% life regen per second, like from your maximum life through Eternal Youth plus Wicked Ward, and together with Eternal Youth, it's 33%. So it's really good. It's an absolutely good note. We're taking also Iron Will, as we have a good amount of strength anyway, right? We have about 300 strength. Over here, you can take these 2 nodes. This basic jewel socket for later levels, fix a little bit of dexterity for some requirements, gem requirements. Over here, we take the spell crit mastery together with take 30% reduced extra damage from critical strikes. Very good, makes us very survivable. Always nice to see. You can stack it together with over here the cursed mastery and you take 40% reduced extra damage from critical strikes by cursed enemies, which puts you at -70% damage taken from critical strikes. Very good. And that's pretty much the skill tree. Pretty simple. The gems, Val Reap, very important. You also want, if possible, to get 20 quality on this. So you get a bunch of reaps. You get a weapon set that has 2 weapons with full red sockets, and you socket in the reaps, level them to level 20, quality them to 20 quality, and then Val Gem them, hoping that you get Val Reap. It is also possible to get up 21-20 Val Reap. What you need to do is you need to have a 20-20 Reap. You need to go to the Val Temple Incursion, and you need to double corrupt the gem, hoping that it hits +1 and it hits the conversion to a Val gem, which is quite rare, but this is like a super endgame thing you can do. It's not honestly needed. Then Awakened Brutality, Awakened Spell Echo, increased critical damage, and we pretty much hit critical strike chance cap. Cruelty and Concentrated Effect. You can, if you like the AoE more, there's also life tap available, but the life cost will be very high. It's a thing I would have to test out to see if it's actually super worthwhile going for this, or the life cost simply being too high, not worth it. Alright, Unleash is also nice, but other than that, I think Concentrated Effect is the best for damage wise here. As I said, Pride, 7 Skitterbot. You can also do Determination instead of Zealotry for more defensive playstyle. Me personally, I think Determination, like, it adds like a ton of effective hit pool. I'm not a fan of really dying, so I'd say this is really good. I think you can also replace Pride with Zealotry, since Pride has like a certain duration until it hits maximum effect, right? The damage will be lower, but the crit chance will be higher. Personally, I think Pride is just better. Anything that doesn't immediately die to this amount of damage we have, right? And also, this is not standard damage. This is, in fact, Guardian Pinnacle boss damage, right? So 12 million Shaper DPS with maximum Pride effect is pretty good. Anything that doesn't die to this immediately probably might actually hit the maximum Pride effect. Together with a level 3 Enlighten, and the max reservation efficiency on the helmet, which comes from Eater of the Worlds, we can pretty much hit 10% unreserved mana, which is fine. We don't have anything that costs enough mana that we would need to invest anyway into mana, and anything that does cost enough, we can just use life tap instead, since we just regen and leech life plus the energy shields we charge in life pretty much solves everything. Then the defense setup with Molten Shell and also Enduring Cry can be very nice sometimes. The Endurance charges also give some life regen and some physical damage reduction, which is very nice. Then pretty much an open slot. What you else can put in? You can put in here a Corrupting Fever setup if you're okay with that, which can be very helpful in early mapping. Later on, I think these three are honestly better, as you will be rushing to the map. Var Discipline is actually very important, because Var Discipline has you and nearby allies' energy to be charged are not delayed by damage, right? So when you get hit, it delays the energy shield recharge, which is your life recharge that now applies to your life. With Var Discipline, you can activate it, and it will continue recharging. That kind of solves the eternal youth dissolution of flesh problem a little bit. If you don't have Wicked Ward, it's very helpful. Assassin's Mark with Mark on hit on life tap. That way we can always apply it when don't have to deal with mana. Assassin's Mark lets us generate power charges. Very nice. Flame Dash, faster cast and Arcane Surge for some movement. And that's pretty much the skills. Going over the items, I'd say they're very simple. Try to get as much global critical start multiplier as you can. These numbers are honestly low. I'm pretty certain you can hit about 500%. There's pretty much no unique one which really outscales a rare one in this case. You want levels, and you want global critic stack multiplier and spell damage. Physical damage over time is kind of low. Most of our damage comes from hit, as you can see. This right here is a must. Wrathpite Globe. Sacrifice 10% of your life when you use or trigger a spell skill. That way it works together with the Ascendancy Nightblood, which makes us scale more physical damage. And we also get 5% increased critical cyclone and 5% increased spell damage per 100 maximum life. So we scale spell damage and critical strike chance with this absurd amount of life that we have. Very good. As I said before, maximum mana reservation efficiency of skill. If you have a level 4 Enlighten, you probably don't need this. Other than that, it's nice to have don't go too low. That way you don't have to put life tap on your Flame Dash. Other than that, on every single one of these armor items, these 4 right here, it is very important that you have maximum life and as high energy shield as possible. This Ascendancy node, gain maximum life instead of maximum energy from equipped armor items. It only works on these specific 4. And it also, if you thought you might put something like this in here, this doesn't work. Only these armor items, right? So you want as high energy shield as you possibly can. And on that, you fix resistances. This chest piece is a Redeemer chest piece instead of Eldritch and Steering Exarch influence chest piece, because we get 10% chance to gain Frenzy Charge on hit, which makes us have permanent Frenzy Charge uptime. The Frenzy Charge is actually really nice. it's about 2 million DPS, right? And it also gives you cast speed, and that is very nice as well. Other than that, the gloves are actually important too. Physical damage leech as life. This modifier is important as this is the one that gives us this amount of life leech over here. So you want this modifier as early as possible. Other than that, unnerve can unnerve is actually also really nice. It gives us a big damage boost, better than any of the other modifiers. There are some defensive modifiers on this item which you can take if you want to. Warlock's Boots, very important, that you get avoid being shocked and avoid elemental ailments. The reason for this is because we're using Storm Shroud. That way, we are immune to all elemental ailments. So when we go over here, we go to Avoidance, you can see we get 2 from the boots, which is 81%, and then we use a Stygian Vice with an Hypnotic Jewel, who has chance to avoid being stunned and chance to avoid being shocked. That way we hit 100% chance to avoid being shocked together with the Shield Mastery and the Silver Flask modifier. And over here we hit it together with these boots, which make us immune to all of the elemental ones, as you can see. Also Brittle Scorch and Sap, which is really nice. And then Bleed and Poison you can put on a flask. This pretty much makes us immune to all the ailments. Very, very, very nice. You always want this. Try to get these implicits and try to, as you can see, you have like a 10% leeway, right? Because the Hypnotic Eye Jewel can actually roll up to like 50%, right? So try to hit 100% with this jewel and these boots. Then Ashes of the Star. This unique is pretty affordable. It's about 1 divine every league. Easy to get, easy, and high amounts of damage increase. What is really important here on this item is the quality of our skill gems. The other ones don't matter. I have Anointed, Mark for Death. Mark for Death gives us Culling Strike, so we have 10% Culling Strike as well. On Reap, very nice. Well, to a marked target, which would normally be unique or rare or something like that, right? Other than that, the normal magic mobs don't really need Culling Strike. Then the Vermilion Ring with a vulnerability on hit from a Warlord influence, life resistances, and Stygian Vice also does life resistance, very fine. I decided to go with an additional Granite Flask for some more physical damage induction with increased armor during effect, which is very nice. This scales together with the Determination Aura as well very nicely. Silver Flask, damage increase, and this modified chance of avoid being stunned can pretty much be on any of these flasks, right? Doesn't need to be on the Silver Flask. Sulfur with bleeding, and the Diamond Flask with increased quick strike chance. This one actually is important. It's a good amount of damage increase because it lets us pretty much hit 100% critical strike chance with max power charges being on. And then a Amethyst Flask with immunity poison to fix chaos resistance a little bit. You can also get chaos resistance over here, right? If you put in these modifiers that give you fire and chaos, lightning chaos, or cold and chaos. I try to slap these on to fix resistances on chaos resistance most of the time. So or maybe you're lucky and you get a good chaos resistance roll on one of these open suffixes that you have, like the Stygian Vice, the Vermilion Ring, or maybe you get it from one of these, which would be very nice. Said before, Storm Shroud for elemental ailment, and here Watcher's Eye. This Pride Watcher's Eye is very good, increases the chance of double damage, pretty much the best one damage wise. If you use Determination, what is really good is reduce extra damage from crits. This puts you pretty much at 100% reduce extra damage from critical strikes while affected by Determination, right? So you pretty much don't take extra damage from critical strikes, very nice. And the other one that I would go for is physical damage reduction or additional armor. If you can't read, I take reflected physical damage. Some people have struggled with that. Just don't run reflect maps and you'll be fine. That is pretty much the options for the Watcher's Eye. And as I said before, the Solution of the Flesh. What you can also do is you can take this open slot you have and you can use Petrified Blood, right? What Petrified Blood does is when taking damage from hits 40% of life loss below half is prevented. So 72% of life loss prevented this way is lost over 4 seconds. That way, dissolution of flesh doesn't trigger. This also works really well when you have a lot of damage recoup, because the damage instantly gets recouped that you take as life loss over time, which is a very nice technique that you can do together. But it's honestly not needed. Together with Eternal Youth alone, you should have no problems with this high amount of life padding, right? Yeah, and that's pretty much the guild. I also have Endgame and an early maps tab. Let's start with the early maps. That is pretty much how it will look like when you will be doing white maps. It's doable for sure, right? You have a high amount of life already at this stage of the game. All of these items are super straightforward. Wrathpike Globe, I'd say, is a must. This item is really, really easy to get. It's not like a T1 or T0. Pretty much like 1C. Maybe it will be like 10 with this leak or event because of Bog Shaman and other builds. Be using Wrathpike Globe now, but other than that, all these items are just life, NG Shield, and resistances. As you can see, we have 500,000 damage from the scaling with Wrathpike Globe in a very simple +1 and spell damage wand. Nothing really going on here. It's pretty much the same. This damage over time over here is not really needed, as don't do damage over time that much. It should actually be in here and get more life, and it makes the scale a little bit harder. I've seen people do Sion Reap starter. It's definitely possible. And then early on, instead of having the curse on hit ring, the Stormbrand set up with Hex Bloom. That way the hexes that were applied get transferred, and Stormbrand lets you shock a little as well, which is nice. Other than that, everything is pretty much the same. You can also put in a Corrupting Fever setup if you don't particularly need this casting damage taking setup, if you think you're fine. I went for early maps with Vitality, get some extra survivability basically. You can also go for another low aura, as we don't have Enlighten yet at this point of the game. So you can go for Herald of Purity, which adds like a nice amount of damage as well. And adds the summons, which can be quite nice. And that will be pretty much the early maps. Try to go as fast as possible for, I'd say, looking at these items. Ashes of the Stars would be a little bit of a priority, as it's pretty much the end game best in slot amulet. There's a rare amulet you can take, but even then, like, Ashes of the Star will always outperform even a +2 like rare amulet and a bunch of modifiers on it. Ashes of the Stars is just better because of the quality. Other than that, what's important to go for is Storm Shroud. You want to get this as early as possible to fix the elemental resistances, and Dissolution of the Flesh is a bit more endgame together with the Watcher's Eye. Even without these two, your damage and survivability will be pretty much fine, right? 8 million DPS, almost 9 million, like 62k effective HP pool. And then you also have some block from Wrathpike Globe, which is quite nice. Even without these two items, it's pretty fine, honestly. In the end game, this build can scale a good amount, actually. It hits 36, almost 37 million DPS. The changes in the gems are not that big. Personally, I don't like going for these +6 Awakening gems, as I'm not fond of them bricking, and I don't want to test my luck. So this one is quite good. Increased critical damage taken. You can pretty much do concentrated effect as well. Awakened Empower would be nice if we can hit the +1 for +5, if it's possible, right? These things tend to get very, very expensive, but if you have enough money, right, what does it really matter? Other than that, everything is pretty much the same. Nothing really needed to up level here. quality is very important. Most of the things that I do have quality, the rest doesn't really matter. The items, you can definitely get some more damage out of this wand by adding adding a cast speed modifier. This is wrong. You can't have double cast speed, right? So increase cast speed, global critical strike, +2 and spell damage. The other items will pretty much stay the same, just have more resistance rolls on them. Another thing that you can get is Chaos Res and increase effect of non-curse from your skills. And on the tree, you can go over here and take this one if you have the points over, and they will add a good amount of damage and survivability if you have determination. Then I went for jewel sockets down here and up here, which adds some more critical strike multiply, damage, and maximum life, right? And that is the things that I went for with the remaining skill points we have for level 99. Other than that, the only thing that is very different here is the Vermilion Elder Ring, which you can hit global critical strike and cast speed on it, and the Stygian Vice. It used to be possible to hit an Elder Stygian Vice with Haughty Crafting Station from which was random influence on a jewelry item. I specifically looked this up. It doesn't exist anymore for Harvest. So instead, what you can do is you can use a Hunter Orb, and Hunter Orb lets you get increased maximum life on a belt. And then also, all of these flash modifiers on these belts are all really good. Like increased flash effect duration, reduced flash charges gained, flash supply to have increased effect. Gain flash charge when you deal a critical strike is also very nice for obvious reasons, as we pretty much crit every single time. So that would give us infinite flash charges, and then you can automate your flasks and pretty much have them on at all times, right? Jewel doesn't change. These jewels are pretty much straightforward, as I already showed. And that's pretty much the build. This build doesn't even have any T0 items. Normally, this build used to be played with a unique item called the Apostle, which pretty much does what Sanguine Power does, except the minus life per level. And even with the negative life we get from Sanguine Power, we still hit 20k life, which is like a crazy amount, and the damage and the protection and survivability is all really good. If it's possible, you could get spell avoidance, whatever the fuck it's called. I forgot what it's called. It's over here. It's suppress spell damage, right? You could get this on a suffix roll if you can fix these resistances a little bit better. And maybe instead of having these positive like damage modifiers on this ring, you go for armor, like you go for energy shield evasion rating items, which will probably take a hit to your life, but you will get suppressed spell damage, which adds actually a lot of effective HP pool. You probably hit like 130,000 effective hit pool when you can reach 100% chance to suppress spell damage. Other than that, the build is pretty much straightforward. I think it is possible to replace the Stygian Vice, right? You can just take this Hypnotic Jewel and put it down in here, and you can just replace this with like a Mage Blood or something, right? And that way, or like a Headhunter, right? Pretty easy fix. You could also, there's a version where you can use the Adorn, but you'd have to like redo the entire skill tree, which would be a lot of work. Even without like all of these T0 items, this build is very solid with just 2, 3, 4, 5, right, unique items. Like most of them not that expensive. Very good build, I do have to say. I'll be league starting this, and I'll be uploading more videos for the Legacy of Phrecia event. I've got some more builds incoming. If you liked the video, leave a like, leave a subscribe. See you around.